guys, I thought it would be fun today to talk about my favorite fiction books that I have read so far this year that I own. I wanted to go to my shelves and be like, okay, which books like jump out to me now? Not all of these were necessarily 5 stars when I read them, but sometimes, you know, you can rate a book 5 stars and as time goes on you're like, maybe it wasn't quite worth that. Or sometimes you rate a book like 4 stars and you're like, you know, this has stuck with me and I should have rated it higher. I don't really go back and change ratings, but I want to show you the books that jumped out to me that were on my shelves that I read this year that I think are my favorites from the year so far. I think it's safe to say that I am going to be having a number of new to me favorite authors this year, and one of them is going to be this guy, Tom Threadgill. This is the very first book I've ever read from him, Collision of Lies. It says he's like a writer on the back, like it makes it sound like he has more books, but when I've looked him up before, this was really the only book that showed up. And then book 2 came out, I can't remember what it was called. It just came out in February, Network of Deceit, I think. So yeah, this is Christian, okay, I don't know. It's technically Christian suspense, but there's not a whole lot of faith elements. Sometimes it's hard to know, like, what does it mean when it's with a Christian publisher? What does that even mean? But this is by Revel anyway. It is a suspense book. It is clean. It is so good. This one had me so curious. It is about a detective who kind of comes across this couple. Their son died in a bus accident a few years back, and all the people died. But they got a message from their son, like a text message, I think, saying he was still alive, and the one person in the couple believes that the other one doesn't, and for some reason she decides to look into it and things aren't exactly as they first appear. And this one had me on the edge of my seat, like I just didn't know where we were going, and I loved it and I want to continue with this series. Another definite going to be a favorite author is Carrie Stewart Parks. Her books are interesting. So A Cry from the Dust, I've read now 3 of her books. And her characters are not the most likable characters, and to me, generally, I need a character to be likable to like really like the book. And I didn't like our main character. Her name is Gwen Marcy. I wasn't her biggest fan, but yet this book was so good, and this has one of my like favorite things that I've always wanted to happen in books, but have never read a book where that actually happened, and I'm so excited I finally have. And of course, I can't actually tell you what happened, but if you have read this book, then you know the twist, and I would like to talk to someone about it. I still haven't like talked to anyone about it. Yeah, so this is about a woman who is a forensic, artist? So she like reconstructs faces, and this has to do with the Mountain Meadows massacre that happened between the Mormons, and then, so we've kind of got like a little bit of the history, and then things are happening these days. Yeah, I really like this book. The twists really kept me going, and really like how this one ended up. And then on that same note, one that I just read is Formula of Deception, also by Carrie Stewart Parks. So I'm pretty much just like planning on reading all of her books. This one is a standalone. There is actually a series with Gwen Marcy. So far I've only read the first book. This one is a standalone, and once again, our like main character, she was better than Gwen, like she was more likable, but still not super likable. But this book, oh man, the twist at the end, once again, I was like, what? I didn't see that coming. So this is about a girl named Murphy who, her sister was either killed or is missing because of a serial killer. Her body was never found, and so Murphy is trying to look into her death. And she's kind of like in witness protection, and then at the same time she's kind of like a starving artist because she's desperate for work, and she kind of like accidentally starts working as a forensic like sketch artist. She tells them that she's had experience and they're desperate, so they don't like look into any references. And yeah, so this one is really cool too. I don't even know how to explain her books. Like, they're mysteries from back in the day that are being solved present day, but it's generally not like dual timeline. Yeah, I've found this one very fascinating as well. Okay, and this next one I talked about in my previous video. This is Forever or a Long, Long Time. This is a middle grade book about siblings who are adopted out of foster care, And really the book it deals with a lot of the trauma that they have from past placements, and I've talked about it a few times. This book was just so heavy in such a good way. It really hit me because I could see one of our previous foster kids in our main character's shoes. Like, this just felt like it was his story, and it was really hard to read, and at the same time it was so good. Yeah, highly recommend this one. And then a series that I started that I'm really excited to continue is the Enola Holmes series. So this one is The Case of the Missing Marquis. I love Sherlock and just really want to read all the spin-off books, and this one was really fun. So this is like if Sherlock and Mycroft had a little sister. This is Enola, and she starts solving her own mysteries, and I think there's potentially 6 or more books in the series already, so I've only read book 1, so I need to get going. They're short, like they're technically middle grade. My 10-year-old daughter didn't love it. I think she didn't understand some of the terminology from, this is I think set in 1886 or something like that, so some of the like old-timey terminology she wasn't aware of, so it wasn't as interesting to her. I'm so excited to continue with this series because I had so much fun with this first book. And then the last book that I want to share that is one of my favorites that I read this year that's on my shelves is The Strangers. So the series is called Greystone Secrets. I'm so jealous because I know some of you have already read book 2, and I think book 3 comes out later this year. So this is middle grade. It's really like sci-fi. I can't really say much. Because our 3 main characters are siblings, Finn, Emma, and Chess. And right at the beginning of the book, they come home and their mom's watching the news. And there are 3 kids with the same names as them, same birthdays, and they've gone missing, and kind of then their mom disappears and things start going down. And I can't say much about it because so much is revealed later, but there's like codes and ciphers, and this was a really fun ride. I hear book 2 is maybe not quite as good, but hopefully things will pick up in the series, and I had a lot of fun with this. Okay, I'm gonna stop with those books. There are some that I got from the library that I really enjoyed, some I listened to on audio that I really enjoyed, but I just thought it would be fun to go off my shelves and like pick out the ones that really jumped out at me. I would love to hear what are some of your favorite books that you've read so far this year, and let me know if you've read some books by these authors, because yeah, I'm going to pick up another one of her books because I'm going to continue the series. I'm going to pick up another one of her books because I'm going to continue the series. I recently hauled another one of her books that I'm really excited about. I'm definitely reading more Carrie Stewart Parks. There's actually one on my May TBR, so I'll be reading more of her. And I'm determined to get my hands on the next book in this series, so I'll be reading more of this author, Threadgill. I don't know why I struggle with his name. So these are all authors that I had not read prior to this year, and I think will probably all be like new favorite authors. So that's a lot of fun. Thanks again for watching, guys.